If you don't know Matthew Vaughn, he is a director, and he's directed Kick-Ass, X-Men First Class, the Kingsman films, including The King's Man, and early next year we got Argyle on the way from him. So recently, he's talked about two massive things that I want to cover here, but we'll do it one by one. So he's spoken to James Gunn about the MCU, and to which he just said, "Never say never. At the moment, I'm enjoying creating my own things. The franchise is in the best hands, so let's see what happens." So he's not ruling it out, and I know that he was very interested in doing something Superman based around the time of Man of Steel releasing. But I guess what we can mostly judge, you haven't seen the Argyle trailer, but it's very Kingsman-like.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where his style is really heading towards. What DC property would suit that kind of direction from Matthew Vaughn, do you think?
Well, I think he's been teed up for The Authority, which is pretty much like even though the Suicide Squad is like a B level, it's like a B-er level.
Yeah.
And like CD level sort of anti-hero group. So if he has been eyed up for that, I think he could make this sort of style work, with like these minnow sort of characters just creating chaos, trying to work as a team.
Yeah.
More disruptive than Suicide Squad. Other than that, nothing's coming to mind right now with that sort of style.
Because it's very similar to James Gunn,
Yeah.
in terms of the Suicide Squad. That's what I would imagine, especially if you got the R rating, of course.
Yeah.
What Matthew Vaughn would do would be very similar to what Gunn did with the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I would like to see him in DC. I think there's properties out there, none that's coming to my mind at the moment.
Yeah.
That he'll actually be able to do good with. I think because he's done X-Men, which is like a group sort of film.
That was a good movie as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kick-Ass, which is, somewhat of a group film. You had multiple characters in that. I think a film or a property that he'll be good with is more of those characters, have more characters, and he'll be great with that. I don't think we can give him like Green Lantern and just have him focus on one character because we haven't quite seen that from him. He might be able to do a great job of it.
Isn't it Green Lantern Corps?
Yeah, I'm just focusing on.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. The Flash then.
Yeah.
The Flash, we haven't quite seen enough of his work where he's just focused solely on one character. There's always been multiple, so I think that's probably why The Authority would fit his film style and probably why he's been eyed up for it as well.
Interesting, because I was going to say The Flash would be a good one for him. Not carrying on the Flash of Ezra Miller, but just creating his own new thing.
Yeah.
It could really depend on how you do it. If you take what the show did and have that Flash, he's not like the first Flash because there's all those other versions of it. So you could make it a group thing with just focusing on the main character, similar to how they did what's his name? Taron Egerton's character in Kingsman.
Oh, yeah.
He's like the main character. Yeah, Eggsy, yeah. So you could make it work in that way. I just think Matthew Vaughn could provide a more of a fun approach to Flash, and I think Flash is meant to be a little bit more fun, but not cringe and talk about low blood sugar and make dumb jokes like that, like he did in Justice League.
Or have his teeth fall out.
Yeah, or just all of that stuff. So I think he would provide a little bit of a fun aspect, and I think on the visual style he could make it quite creative. I don't think they nailed the visual style very well with the Flash. His running style, for one, has always been something that's just bothered me.
Me too.
And just the lightning that goes everywhere. It's just a little bit too much to know what's happening. So I think he could really nail that one. Otherwise, I was going to say Green Lantern Corps. So you said the exact ones that he shouldn't do is the ones that I think he should do.
I don't know. For Green Lantern, I said it's a particular character, not the Corps.
Like this solo movie kind of thing.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, I don't disagree with you in terms of helming like minor characters that we haven't really seen before in a kind of fun and fresh way. I actually think he would really excel at that. I didn't think of that before. Jumping onto the potty here. So yeah, I think there's lots of room for him to fit. But if you're going to have a character, I guess, show like more of a darker side and have, kind of like the anti-MCU where everything's kind of dark and broody, I don't think Matthew Vaughn's quite the right fit there. but he can definitely excel in the other projects where it's kind of like I wouldn't throw him into Swamp Thing, which is meant to be like a horror film, you know.
Yeah.
But
Isn't Mangold directing that?
he is, yeah, which is a great pick. So yeah, but Matthew Vaughn in the DCU, I would welcome that any day.
Yeah.
Seems like James Gunn's he's trying to get some really good directors behind on these projects.
And I feel as him as a director, he's like pulling in his boys, you know,
Yeah,
to come help him,
yeah.
you know, which is pretty cool. And obviously, we're going to see more content from these fantastic directors, you know.
Yeah,
So that's
definitely. But I'm still not completely on board with DCU yet. I need to see it this time. Just lay out. We'll start with Superman Legacy, and then I'll just see where I'm at with the DC. I'm not gonna put all my hopes and dreams into it like I did when I saw Batman vs Superman being announced. I was so excited.
I don't think I've ever been more hyped for a movie still than that.
Yeah. Oh man, like that period of getting late March, early May, Civil War and Batman vs Superman. Because you know Spider-Man's my favorite like character and coming into the MCU for the first time. Just the anticipation during those few months, it was just insanely high. And Batman vs Superman absolutely destroyed me with how average it was.
It wasn't average, mate.
Yeah, it was. But we moved on for that. I'm sure James Gunn can do a little bit better. We'll move on to the next thing that Matthew Vaughn had recently said. And basically, you can't hear that. That's the car moving. But yeah, anyway, Matthew Vaughn believes that Star Wars should be rebooted with focus on the Skywalker family. He said he'd want to remake the original films with a new cast. So I'll ask you a two-parter question here. Would you welcome a reboot to Star Wars? We'll break it down in terms of the original trilogy, sequel trilogy, and prequel trilogy. Would you welcome a reboot? And if so, just the originals, the whole saga, start to finish?
That's a loaded question, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But it's one that we don't talk about because, again, yeah.
I think in the actual article, if people read it, he does justify what his comments. He's saying that there's all these other films with a particular character that constantly gets rebooted. Why can't that work for Luke Skywalker?
Yeah.
So from that aspect, I can sort of see that vision. But if you look at Iron Man, yeah, he created the MCU, but that's a character that can easily be recast. But with Luke Skywalker, it literally changed the game of cinema, like sci-fi cinema.
Yeah.
With the original trilogy and stuff like that. So I think it's a little bit more harder to do that in. It probably could work, but then you're just gonna constantly get compared to the original trilogies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think if they did it for the sequel trilogy, it could work. You know, because there was a lot of balls dropped during those three movies. If they could like tweak it a bit to, you know, give the audience or what actually should have been done, but still kept it, you know, the same, then maybe it could work. But yeah, I think Star Wars is probably one that should just be left alone. Should probably just don't reboot it. Just tell other stories because there's so many other stories in this that people don't know about, which is just as good, if not better, than the Skywalker saga.
Yeah. I think that's very true, and I think that's why there's been no really discussion of a reboot yet. It's because there's just so much in this universe that is unexplored, and so there's so many properties that can be created and shows and movies to tell different stories and, you know, explore different characters. But I'm not fully against his opinions. I thought about it, and you know, I don't like you know, those things being rebooted, and I've always thought that the three things that you can't reboot are Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and Star Wars, just because they're just such, you know, I'm not gonna say masterpieces, but they're just so iconic and embedded in pop culture in a way that not many franchises have done. So to reboot them would be a very weird viewing experience. I know watching the Harry Potter series, I'm gonna be like, I can't wrap my head around someone else playing Harry Potter, or a different theme, or the look of Hogwarts being different. It's just gonna be so weird. But if you're gonna do that, then fuck it, do Star Wars. Like, I mean, you might as well do it. give it a go and have a plan. If you really think about the Star Wars 1 to 9, most of it's worse than good, or most of it's bad than good.
Yeah.
You have a chance to rectify that. Like, how many good movies are in the entire Star Wars thing? Revenge of the Sith is okay. It's awesome in terms of, the fight sequences and all the stuff that we love, Star Wars wise. But in terms of the story, it's pretty fine. Some cringe lines in there and all that kind of stuff. And then you got the fourth one, which is good. I think it can be improved upon. 5 is amazing. 6 is good, but has its problems. 7 is a carbon copy, but good. 8 looks nice, but what were you doing with the story there? And then 9 was just panic mode. Like, and the first one was just all politics in Star Wars universe. And it was just like, and 2, I don't even know what 2 was. It was just some boring thing, stuff about sand and picnics. I don't know.
2 is by far the worst.
Yeah, I hate 2. Like, there's so much bad in there. Like, if there's one that can be improved out of the 3 things that I mentioned cannot be rebooted, Star Wars is the one that needs it the most. Because all the Lord of the Rings are amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't think you can improve on that, even as someone who's not really a fan of it. I don't know how you can improve on Harry Potter. You can improve on the stories a bit, but
maybe more the characters,
yeah,
and the
but
house culture.
In terms of the technical side of it and the casting, you can't. I think Star Wars is the one that has the most room for improvement. So I don't think it should be rebooted, but if we're gonna reboot all this other stuff, well, who cares? Might as well reboot Star Wars and see what happens. Yeah. The next question I was going to ask about that one, Matthew Vaughn. Would you want him to? Would he be a right fit to helm the Star Wars reboot if it was to happen?
I don't know. It would definitely one out of his comfort zone because he doesn't do sci-fi that often. So it'll be one that I'll be very interested in for sure, just to see how he tackles it. And if there's these vast characters, and if he can put a Kingsman sort of style spin to it, but with the Star Wars vibe, I think that'd be very, very interesting. I think it would have done awesome for Rogue One. Bringing that sort
the
of
group. Yeah.
Bringing that sort of like Kingsman style to like the Rogue One sort of dynamic, and I think that would have been really, really entertaining to watch.
Yeah. I don't know if it'd be good.
I didn't say good. I said entertaining to watch.
Yeah, definitely entertaining. His work as a director, he's very good at making things entertaining and fun. Yeah. So I know he'll nail that aspect. In terms of character exploration and all that stuff, that's the one where I'd have questions about, but I don't really doubt his ability to do it. But I think there are very few directors that would take on rebooting the original Star Wars trilogy. Kudos to you if you do it. Not because you can't improve it. I absolutely believe that you can. Most things can be improved. It's what you're going to get from the fandom. Yeah, the fans will just go ballistic. Like, you already see with these really intense fans with like DC, Marvel, and Star Wars. They're very invested.
They're a different breed of human.
They are a different breed of human. I think DC is the worst fans, though.
Yes, we're talking about you, Snyder people.
mostly just those extremist fans. A lot of these fan bases are really, really cool people, though. But we're going to move on to one of those fandoms, MCU. So we're